Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Monday edition of Daily BetSlip. I hope everyone had a good Christmas. For those who celebrate, we are back. It is myself. It is Peter Dewey. We got I was going to say jam-packed show, but it's not really jam-packed because NBA is back in action. But that's pretty much it. I guess there's some college football games, at least earlier today. I don't know about tonight, but we do have Monday Night Football. No NHL or college basketball yet. That's not back until tomorrow. So... I had to make some NBA bets today, so we'll have to get into that. We're also going to talk some NHL futures because it is technically the halfway point. I mean, not technically, metaphorically the halfway point, the spiritual halfway point of the NHL season. They're about 5 to 7 games short of the actual halfway point. So I got some NHL futures that I really like that I want to give out. So we're going to talk about that. And we got a couple community picks for the NFL game tonight as well. Peter, how are you doing?
Doing good, man. Happy Nathaniel Hackett is no longer the Broncos head coach. It was about time. So yeah, I can't complain. Onward and upward. Haven't watched a Broncos game since like week 4, but maybe next year. Maybe next year we'll be able to watch again.
The Broncos game against the Rams yesterday might have been the most embarrassing performance from a professional sports team in my memory.
Yeah, it was
the
bad.
Rams put 51 points against them. Russell Wilson threw an interception that was it was Patrick Starr from SpongeBob was commentating for it. Threw it to his former teammate Bobby Wagner, and then eventually got benched for Brett Ripien. So I think you have to hang up the cleats after that.
It's not good. The sad thing is he's supposed to be their quarterback for the next 6 years. So
yes,
not what you want to see at all.
I saw a tweet that the earliest that they can release Russell Wilson without a cap or with not like the full cap hit or whatever is like 2025. And even then it's like they still have to pay most of it. So
it's like 40 million, I think, which is still an insane amount of dead cap. It's brutal. It's absolutely brutal. That's like the worst contract in sports right now, man. Like I can't it's gotta be. It has to be. I can't like the Rodgers one isn't bad because like at least he's still decent. Like Russell Wilson's just terrible.
Bronco country, that's right.
If he says that after another press conference ever again, man, done. I don't want to see him.
I think his press conference before this last game, I think he dropped it. I think he just said go Broncos. So I think he has officially dropped it, at least for now. The other big news story is that this is my last episode of Daily BetSlip in my 20s. I've been having an existential crisis all month, all day, especially today. It's my birthday tomorrow, so I will be 30 years old, and it's not good. Getting old.
Nah, that's all right. That monumental right there. So this is a monumental episode. Tomorrow's a monumental day. You're doing great though, man. Come on.
All right, so these will be my last bets I'll be placing not a 20-year-old. I'm older than that. In my 20s, these might be my last bet. So put a little cap off to my 20s. So let's get into some picks here. Let's start off with community picks as always. Just 2 tonight about the NFL game here. First one, practical picks at @practical_picks coming in with Colts +4 all day. Chargers are usually an up and down team. They will probably make the playoffs by default, but I don't count on them to win or cover meaningful games. Might take a shot at +170 money line as well. And he is in the chat as well, 30 years old. Gee whiz. Yeah, it's not good. Well, this is our game tonight, so I don't want to give away our picks, but the Chargers do seem like a cursed team that loses kind of big, important games for them. I remember his last year. I know that they could have won. They could have won. They made the playoffs, so they tied against the Raiders in the final week of the season. But it was maybe it was the year before too. But they had a game against the Texans in like week 15 or week 16 that if they won would have basically locked up a playoff spot for them, and they ended up losing as huge favorites. So the Chargers are the Falcons of the AFC. They are cursed. So if you want to look at it from that angle, probably a good spot to fade one of the most cursed teams in the NFL. But like I said, we'll talk about this game a little bit more. I did take a peek at our picks. We are on opposite sides for that game. So we'll talk about that at the end of the show. Let's bring up the other community pick, which I believe is a player prop. Daniel at Daniel01802112. Colts backup tight end Jelani Woods over receiving yards. Started at 20. He's a rookie too, I believe. Started at 20, now up to 24-25 on some sites. The starter is out. He is sharing time with the other tight end. Okay, that's a nice little player prop. And I think we have some player props on the show as well. So I think we both have one player prop that we're going to give out in our best bets portion of the show, and then 2 NBA picks each. So why don't we dive right into those here? Let's start off with the NBA picks. We'll do our NBA picks first, and then we'll finish off the best bets portion with our favorite player props for tonight. So why don't you start us off with your first NBA pick, which is a player prop in the NBA as well.
Yeah, I'll do the player prop first. I'm taking Jonas Valanciunas under 30.5 points, rebounds, and assists. This line's kind of skyrocketing for him here because Brandon Ingram is out for this game. Herb Jones is out for this game. Zion Williamson is doubtful for this game. So obviously you're going to expect, more touches for Jonas Valanciunas, but Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram missed the last 2 games, and he went under this number comfortably in both of them. He's actually gone under this number in 9 of his last 10 games. The only game he went over, he scored over 30 points in that game, facing a Pacers team that defensively very solid. Miles Turner, the best shot blocking center probably in the NBA. Goga Bitadze, they have some bigs that they can kind of throw at him. And I just don't think Valanciunas, he's not the type of guy you're going to run your offense through necessarily. Like, he's going to get some points. He'll make a couple threes probably. He's going to get offensive rebounds, but they're not going to strictly run the offense through him. That's going to be through CJ McCollum. So I just don't see 30.5 just too high of a number for me. Maybe he goes crazy on the glass, but I don't see it. He's averaging on the season right now 13 points, 3 points, 9.3 rebounds, 1.8 assists per game. It's just, he's way under this number on his season-long averages. I think this is an overreaction to those 2 guys being ruled out.
All right, I like it. I also have an NBA player prop for my first NBA pick for tonight. I'm not an NBA guy, but because of that, when I do have to bet on the NBA, I keep my handicaps pretty simple, pretty straightforward. So I'm going to go Nikola Vucevic under 10.5 rebounds. He's only gone over this number 4 times since November 28th. He started off hot because he is averaging 10.6 rebounds per game this season, but a lot of it was his early season numbers. He's cooled off in the rebounding department as of late. Now he takes on the best rebounding team in the NBA, the Houston Rockets, grabbing 53.1% of rebounds. So I like Vucevic under 10.5 rebounds tonight. Pretty straightforward player prop for some NBA action. You got to have something going on. I can't leave all my cookies in the one basket of Monday Night Football. I need some NBA picks. So there's a little player prop for the people.
It's true. I like that one. I don't mind that one at all. My next NBA pick, I'm taking the Utah Jazz -4. Might be at 4.5 in a lot of books. I still like it there as well. Against the San Antonio Spurs tonight. They're on the road, but the Spurs are just god awful. I mean, you look at this Spurs team, they're 30th in net rating, 30th in defensive rating, bottom 3 in offensive rating. The Jazz have not been great on the road. They're 7-11 straight up. So there's obviously, a little concern there, but this actually reminds me a lot of their game against the Pistons earlier last week. They beat the Pistons by 15 on the road. They came in as like 2.5 3-point favorites. And Detroit's just a terrible defense, and Utah, who is 4th in offensive rating, was able to shoot the lights out, and they beat them. So I don't think that the Spurs keep this game close, even with most of their guys healthy. They're 6-8 against the spread this season as a home underdog, losing those games by an average margin of 11.6 points. They're also 4-18 straight up against teams in the Western Conference. So some of their wins, they came early against Eastern Conference teams, and then they beat up on some of the bad teams in the East. I don't think the Jazz are a bad team. They're 7th in the West right now. They've won a couple in a row. So I think 4 points, 4.5 points. I like the Jazz here. I just don't see it for the Spurs. They don't play any defense, and they don't have, a good offense despite playing some up-tempo basketball. So give me Utah tonight.
So I got some breaking news, Peter, and this is why I'm sorry that I'm kind of looking at my phone while you gave out that pick here, because I'm trying to lock in a bet because Ian Rappaport reports Tua Tagovailoa once again in NFL's concussion protocol. Ooh. His status for this game against the Patriots, for this week's game against the Patriots, is now in doubt, and it's too late. The lines have shifted.
I saw there was somebody posted a video today of that he hit his head like in the second quarter of that game yesterday. I didn't see it happen live, but I saw the video after. Like, he stayed in the rest of the game, and they were trying to use it as that's why he was so bad yesterday. But it's definitely possible if he's concussed.
I did see that as well. I think that might have been a member of Tuanon that posted that.
Could have been.
Even so, I was going to try to bet it before the line moved, but I think it was a minute too late there. The Dolphins are now 1.5-point underdogs. We'll see if that stays there or if it even moves. I might underreact to the injury and take the Dolphins anyways. We'll see. But we got the whole week to talk NFL. So I got one more NBA play here. It is going to be an over bet. I got Nets and Cavs over 220.5 here. Pretty straightforward here, like I keep with all my NBA bets. These are the two hottest shooting teams in the NBA over the last 3 games. First and second in effective field goal percentage over each team's last 3 games. Nets averaging 128.3 points per game over their last 3. I know a big portion of that is an outlier. Who was it? Was it the Warriors there? Who was it they were playing against where they like 90-some points in like the first half?
Yeah, it was Golden State. They destroyed them.
Absolutely. So a little bit of an outlier obviously contributes to those numbers for the Nets, but Cavs have also been very good offensively lately. So I'll take I know both of them do play at a little bit of a slower pace, which might hurt the bet, and Cleveland is very good defensively, but still, I'll ride the hot shooting teams here. I'll take over 220.5 between the Nets and Cavs.
Yeah, not too high of a total. If that game, I think if you just like on paper, you would expect it to be higher just because of all the good scorers in that matchup. But like you said, the Cavs are number 1 in defensive rating this year, so I don't mind that over 220.5. You want points when the stars are playing, right?
Yeah, exactly. Listen, if I'm going to watch any NBA tonight, which I might have to, I'm going to be rooting for points. All right, we got some NFL player props for tonight. We'll give out our pick on the side later in the show, but we do have some player props here, and we did have one kids opening Pokemon, aka Practical Picks. Likes Nick Foles over 1.5 touchdowns, plus 140 is a decent bet as well, he says in the chat. I don't know. Are they going to make Nick Foles throw the ball enough for that? I guess maybe if you think the Chargers get up, though, I guess the Colts, if they're coming from behind, they might have to throw the ball a little bit more, but I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be interesting to see what the Colts game plan is. But let's hear your first player prop.
Yeah, so my player prop, I have Deion Jackson anytime touchdown score, plus 260. I think there's a little value here. I think it's going to be a committee between him and Zach Moss tonight. I know Zach Moss saw the bulk of the carries in their last game, but you look at Deion Jackson so far this season, 3 of the games that Jonathan Taylor didn't play, 17 touches, 22 touches, 13 touches, did have a touchdown in that stretch. I also think they do fall behind tonight. Don't want to give away too much of my bet on this game, but he's going to be the third down back. I think he's going to have more opportunities, obviously in the passing game than Zach Moss. And who knows, maybe he ends up getting a red zone series and scores. I really don't know where this backfield committee is going to go. And I also don't really trust this Colts offense. So I think this is the best value if you're looking for a Colts guy to score on the board tonight.
Deion Jackson to score a touchdown. I just want to take a quick look-see here because this actually does relate to my pick, which is actually the other Colts running back here, Zach Moss, to go over 49.5 rushing yards tonight. And a big reason why is because the situation I have right now, this little bit of an emo hedge, because I'm in fantasy football semifinals here. I'm in 2 different semifinals. Made the semifinals all 3 of my leagues. No big deal. Already advanced in one of them. No big deal. It was the work league. No big deal. I notice I'm not facing you in the finals. No big deal. But the other 2 leagues, my non-work leagues, one of them, I'm playing a guy, Mike Evans really screwed me last night. I thought I had the game or the matchup in the bag. He only got like 5 points. I need Zach Moss to get less than 7 points tonight. If he gets less than 7 points, I win. And if he's going to go over 7 points, I'm going to assume he's going to get over 49.5 rushing yards. So a little bit of a hedge bet on my fantasy football matchup there. But also Zach Moss ran the ball a ton last week. He ran the ball 24 times last week. And now he's taking on a Chargers defense that's 31st in opponent yards per carry, giving up 5.4 yards per rush. And the Colts have also ran the ball on 46.45% of their plays over the last 3 games. That's in the top 10 for run play rate in the NFL. So Practical Picks has absolutely no faith that I'm going to win this fantasy match. He says definitely over 7 points. Yeah. So I hope Deion Jackson gets the workload. I actually hope your bet wins and not mine, because if Deion Jackson scores a touchdown, then hopefully Zach Moss doesn't score a touchdown. Obviously, if Zach Moss scores a touchdown, I lose because that's 6 points right there.
You need the early Zach Moss fumble and get benched because of that. That's what you need.
Yes. I needed like 10 points from Mike Evans. I needed a touchdown from Mike Evans last night. I would have been laughing today, but no, he sucked. Thankfully, he went into overtime because heading into overtime, he had 1 catch for 5 yards. Yeah, he got 2 more catches in overtime, but Mike Evans.
Yeah, that's brutal. Brutal.
The other fantasy matchup I'm cheering for, I have a 20-point lead tonight. This is my big money dynasty league. The other guy has Austin Eckler and Keenan Allen, and I have Derwin James because this league has defensive players as well. So that one I'm projected to lose by 0.4. So both of these matchups are coming down to the wire. I'm sweating tonight.
The big Derwin James game. Just 3 pick sixes for Derwin James.
One pick six should be enough, unless Austin Eckler and Keenan Allen snap, because they do have a 20-point lead. So Derwin James gets an interception. Hey, return it for a touchdown. I'm heading to the finals in that, and I'm facing the back-to-back defending champ. So
there you go.
Lot on the line tonight, my friend.
On the line. Yeah, I didn't know this. This is crazy.
Yeah, it's a big night for me. I need this after losing in Survivor, that $25,000 Survivor pool. Let's talk NHL. It is, like I said earlier, technically the halfway point, metaphorically the halfway point of the season, the spiritual halfway point of the NHL season. So I took a quick look-see at the futures odds for Stanley Cup for a couple divisions and a couple of awards, and there are some bets that I love. So since last time, I think it was last time we did a show together, one of the last couple times, I lobbed up some NBA questions for you. I had nothing to contribute. We're going to reverse roles now. Let's talk NHL. Lob me up some futures, and I'll tell you my best bet heading into the second half of the season.
I got you. So my first one, I'm looking at this NHL Central Division. I see the Dallas Stars plus 175, Colorado Avalanche plus 210, Minnesota Wild plus 550, Winnipeg Jets plus 550. Who you got winning the Central Division this year?
Yeah, so right now for Central Division, I think the bet to make, it's a little bit of a buy low spot. I think this is going to be the best price you're going to get on them coming up, is the Colorado Avalanche, who are second on the odds list right now. You can get them, I think plus 210 might be the best price out there for them right now. But they've missed Nathan MacKinnon the past few weeks, and they haven't had their best player. Well, their captain at least. Nathan MacKinnon is probably a better overall player, but their captain they haven't had all year. Gabriel Landeskog. McKinnon's going to be back in a few weeks. Landeskog should be back at the latest early February. So they're getting back their two studs. And still at this point, they're only, I think, 6 points. Yeah, they're 6 points back from the Stars, who are leading the division right now. So only 6 points back. And they're going to get hot in the second half of the season when their two stars are coming back. So I think this is the best time to buy in on the Avalanche to win the Central Division. They are the defending champions. They have the talent to do it. So Central Division, best bet for a division winner, if you want to bet on one right now, I think is the Avalanche at plus 210.
All right, so I got to ask you then, if you got the Avalanche winning the division, is there a different team that you have winning the Cup potentially coming out of that same division?
Yes. I'm going to kind of go against myself here. I think the Dallas Stars, if we're just talking value, obviously there's some teams that are actually in the top 5 on the odds list that are probably that have better chances of just winning. But if you're just looking for a value bet right now to win the Stanley Cup, I think it is the Dallas Stars who are winning the Central Division right now, even though I think the Avalanche might come back and catch them for the division lead. This Dallas Stars team has been a very good defensive team over the last few years, but they've lacked in the offensive statistics. But this year, they're all of a sudden one of the better offensive teams in the NHL. They are actually the highest scoring team in the Western Conference, averaging 3.52 goals per game. So they have the missing pieces that they've missed the past few years. They still have Jake Oettinger, who's the best young goalie in the NHL. He's a Vezina Trophy candidate as well. So now that they have an offense, if they can pick it up on defense, because they have lacked a little bit this year on defense, if they can get back to as good as they have in the past few years defensively, I think the Stars can make a run, especially considering the Western Conference is a lot more wide open. It's going to be tough to bet on any team, I think, in the Eastern Conference to win the Stanley Cup, because they're just going to beat each other up. And like any of the teams contending in the East could make the Stanley Cup final. Could be the Bruins, could be the Maple Leafs, could be the Hurricanes, could be the Penguins, could be the Rangers if they pick things up a little bit. In the West, your list of contenders is a lot smaller. It's the Avalanche, it's the Stars, it's maybe the Golden Knights, maybe the Flames, and that's just about it. So I think the Stars have an easier path in those Eastern Conference teams. So at 18-1, I think the Stars have the best value on the board.
I think that's very fair. So let's talk MVP now. So obviously, one of the, usually in other sports, some of the most intriguing markets all throughout the season, but it looks like right now in the NHL, overwhelming favorite to win the MVP right now. So talk to me, who's your pick and why do you think it's a value to bet it right now?
I am shocked that Connor McDavid is still available at -125 to win the Hart Trophy, aka the MVP award for the NHL. This guy, in my opinion, basically has it already locked up unless something weird gets happened, unless he gets hurt, because this is a guy who has been arguably the best player in the NHL for the better part of a decade. It's not like he's going to regress here in the second half of the season. He's leading the point standings in the NHL with 66 points. He has a lead by 10 points, and the guy who's in second with 56 points is his line mate, Leon Draisaitl, who's can thank McDavid for the majority of his points. So you can still get Connor McDavid -125 is still available out there. Obviously, that is a little bit juicy. You'd rather a plus bet for value, but even at -125, I think there's a ton of value on Connor McDavid. He is the best player in the NHL, and he will win the Hart Trophy once again this year. And you're not going to get this price for much longer. I wouldn't be surprised if within the next 2 to 3 weeks, the odds get even shorter, get to like -200, -300. So if you're going to bet on someone to win the Hart Trophy, bet on Connor McDavid. Bet on it now at -125.
Do you think he's only at -125 just because it's this early in the season? Like technically this early in the season, or do you think they because it does seem crazy to me. If he's got that big of a point cushion, like why? It just doesn't make sense that they'd be willing to like risk that, because people will bet it at -125. Like if you put it to like -500, you maybe don't get as many people to bet it.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, like if you just look at the amount of games played, they aren't at the halfway point season of the season yet. Are you getting a phone call right now?
I was. I had to decline it.
There's still two. I mean, he could get hurt. He could get hurt. There are some other guys who have been playing really well. Jason Robertson's next on the list. He could kind of catch him. He's the other kind of argument. If one of the goaltenders start playing at an even higher level, or even a couple of them just maintain their pace right now, they'll be in the mix for the Hart Trophy, like Igor Shesterkin was last year. But I think that's why he's at -125. I think there's just too many games left. So like I said before, like this is a guy who's been the best player in the NHL for the better part of a decade. It's not like he's some random guy who's just starting to play good now. Like McDavid will continue to be the best player in the NHL for the rest of the season. So it's just a matter of whether or not he gets hurt, or some of these other guys just have a unbelievable second half. So I still think there's some value there.
Makes sense. All right, so let's talk best goaltender. The Vezina Trophy winner. Obviously, yes. Last year, my guy Igor Shesterkin, he won the award. Does he have a chance this year? If not, who are you going with?
I don't think Igor Shesterkin will. He'll have to play a lot better in the second half of the season. The reason why he was the best goalie last year and he rightfully won the Vezina Trophy winners because he played that well, even though the Rangers didn't play that well in front of him. They hung him out to dry too many times, and now they're doing the same, and he's kind of having to pay the price for it. I think the guy to bet on right now is Connor Hellebuyck at 4-1. Linus Ullmark is the favorite, but we haven't seen Linus Ullmark or the Bruins play this well for a full season, which can be tough. Guys who have split starts in the past or have been backups in the past. We saw with Jack Campbell last year of the Maple Leafs. His first season as a full-time starter was arguably the best goalie right up there with Igor Shesterkin at this time of the season, but then regressed in the second half because it's a grind to be a starting goaltender in the NHL for an entire season. Connor Hellebuyck, we've seen him already do it in the past. He was one of the top vote getters in the Vezina Trophy last year. He's won the Vezina Trophy, I believe it was the year before that he won it. So we've seen him do it in the past, and his numbers are only slightly behind Linus Ullmark. And like Shesterkin last year, Hellebuck's carrying this Jets team because statistically this Jets team hasn't been very good, but they're near the top of the standings in the West because Hellebuyck has stood in his head all year. So at 4-1, I think Connor Hellebuck's the bet to make to win his second Vezina Trophy.
Like that a lot. I might have to bet all of these now. I'm not an NHL guy, so now I just got to tell your picks so we can root for them together. I think that's the move.
I also broke down some other ones. You can check out my full article over on FanSided. I gave out a pick for all 4 divisions as well, so check that out. But I think there's some value left now that we're at the spiritual halfway point of the season. Gets back to action tomorrow. The NHL returns to action. Also, the World Junior starts tonight, which is huge in Canada. It's like a national holiday watching Boxing Day. Well, Boxing Day didn't even exist in the States. So do you know what Boxing Day is?
No. I've seen it on a calendar before, but I don't know what it like what it means, what it stands for.
Boxing Day is the day after Christmas, and it's a big shopping day, but it's also a national holiday. Boxing Day World Juniors opener, which is tonight, which is actually in my home province. You're in Nova Scotia. So have you ever heard of the World Juniors?
No, not until you mentioned it this morning. That was the first time I'd heard of it.
The World Juniors is literally massive in Canada. It's like the international tournament for hockey players under 20 years old or 20 years old and under.
So it's the next, basically the next guys, the next group of
yes, exactly.
Right. That's very fun. That's very cool. Gotta love. That's awesome.
It is very fun, and like the start of the tournament happens like during winter break, so everyone's home, so they can, and usually off work except for us, they can watch it. So yeah. So I should have made a World Juniors pick, but I mean I don't know enough about these guys playing junior hockey. All right, let's dive into the game of the night. It is obviously Monday Night Football. It is the Colts. It is the Chargers. We are on opposite sides for this game. Give me your pick.
Yeah, I'm taking the Chargers -3.5, man. I don't believe in Nick Foles. I think Jeff Saturday's clueless. It's the third quarterback he's used in 5 weeks. Nick Foles in his career as an underdog is 11-19 in the regular season. So he's been great in the playoffs. There obviously is the great Philly run, but outside of being on the Eagles, Nick Foles, not a great quarterback. I don't know why this spread is so tight. I know there's the underlying numbers that the Chargers haven't been good this year. I know they can't stop the run. They also have Justin Herbert, and they've looked a lot better the last few weeks. I think still that they're kind of a dark horse team, depending upon how the rest of the AFC shakes out to win the Super Bowl this year. So I just think this is a spot 3.5. Like, I'm not afraid to lay the points. I have zero faith in the Colts, especially after what they pulled last week, blowing that lead to Minnesota. I just don't know if I can trust them to hang around in a game against a team I think they're much worse than.
Yeah, I'm on the opposite side, so I disagree with you, my friend. I'll take the Colts. I got them at +4 early last week. It's at 3.5 now. I still like that number with it being above the magic number of 3, but the narrative right now is that the Chargers are getting hot. Ooh, nobody wants to face the Chargers in the playoffs. I think that's bullshit because this team stinks. Over their last 3 games, they're still 20th in net yards per play, and in those last 3 games, they played the Raiders, Dolphins, and Titans. All 3 of those teams. Well, the Dolphins are still, I think, pretty good, but the Raiders and Titans suck. And in that 3-game stretch, they're 20th in net yards per play. Their defense is one of the worst in the NFL. Meanwhile, the Colts defense, while the Colts have sucked, their defense still has been very good. So I think the defense is going to be the biggest difference maker. Maybe Nick Foles does. Maybe he can bring back a little bit of that magic. Who knows? I hope they don't run the ball too much because then I'm going to lose in fantasy. But yeah, I'll take Colts. I think their defense can keep the Chargers intact. Will they win? I don't know, but with it being above that magic number of 3, I will take the Colts at that number.
Fair. I don't believe in Nick Foles at this point. I feel like everybody just thinks last time Nick Foles played is like, oh, when he won the Super Bowl with Philly, like this man couldn't start over Mitch Trubisky. Like it's been a while. So like, I can't put my faith in him at this point. I just don't think they have a good quarterback on that entire roster. It's just bad at this point. Sorry to your boy Matt Ryan. Didn't mean that.
I can't even talk with Matt Ryan. The poll results are in, and they are on the Chargers -3.5. So they're with you for the game of the night. How do you feel about that?
I feel good about it. I think community said they're getting hot entering the new year. That's what I'm hearing right now.
I feel good about being on the opposite side of the community. So I'm very confident in my Colts bet. I need a lot of things to go right for me. Tonight could be a very good night. It could be a bad night. If the Chargers win big and Zach I might lose both fantasy matchups. I might lose my bet. I might lose everything. And that would be a very fitting way to end my 20s. So I don't know. We'll see. It's a big night. Big night.
It is a big night.
All right. That is our show. I will be back tomorrow, myself and Reed Wallach, tomorrow for the Iain birthday edition of Daily Betslip. That should be fun. Any final thoughts, my friend? You don't have your little board behind you this time. So
yeah, I didn't bring the board back with me for Christmas, but I know we talked about last time we were on the show that the Knicks are back. I'm rescinding that Knicks are back. Rescinded 3 straight losses. Gonna keep the jury still out on if the Knicks are back. That's what I'll say.
So Knicks might not be back.
Might not be back. Still up in the air.
Stevie Pan says, I can't get McDavid any better than -139. DraftKings has him as top goal scorer +125. Yeah, I saw him at FanDuel -125. Now I'm looking at -145. So that might have even just shifted today. to be honest. So I think still minus 139. I think jump on it. I still think that's a pretty good bet. I think minus 150 or less, I think you can still fire at McDavid. I just don't see, unless he gets hurt, I don't see how he loses this award. It's him and then everybody. He's 10 points above the next closest guy, and the next closest guy is his line mate. So unless they give it to Leon Draisaitl, then they're going to give it to McDavid. Let me take a look at the goal scoring leaders in the NHL, because he also asked DraftKings top goal scorer at plus 125. I think before looking here, I'd be nervous about Tage Thompson of the Sabres. Goals. So McDavid does have a 4-goal lead against Tage Thompson. McDavid hasn't historically really been a goal scorer, though. He's been more of an assist guy. But also Tage Thompson is likely going to regress a little bit. Jason Robertson's likely going to regress a little bit. Young guys who have kind of exploded this year. You won't usually see them maintain this level of play throughout the whole season. So if you don't want to lay minus 140 juice or minus 139 like you found it, you can get plus money for him to finish with the most goals. That's certainly not a bad look. But I would feel more comfortable with him just finishing as the points leader. But wow, I didn't know he already had 30 goals. Wow. Yeah.
What a season.
That's unfortunately the best player on planet Earth. As much as I wish I could say it's Austin Matthews, it's not. It's Connor McDavid. And another Connor who's going to be drafted first overall this year, Connor Bedard. Looks like he might be the next Connor McDavid. So keep an eye out for him.
Who is Connor McDavid? Does McDavid have a shot at any of Gretzky's records or no? No chance.
No.
Damn. It's crazy.
The game's changed too much. It's like how who is it in NBA? Like Wilt Chamberlain has all those like records. Like no one's going to break like single game records, I guess, for Wilt Chamberlain.
Yeah, it's tough
because the game has just changed too much.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, you could get rid of all of Gretzky's goals that he scored in the NHL, and he'd still be the all-time points leader with only assists.
Insane.
That's one of the crazy stats of all time.
That's insane.
Yeah. All right, that is our show. The Knicks may not be back. Jury's still out on the Knicks. What constitutes them being back though? Making the playoffs?
Yeah, they got to make the playoffs. Then I'll say they're back.
Okay. Even if they're what if they're in the play-in tournament? Does that count?
They'll be back if they get out of the play-in tournament. If they're in the play-in tournament, I'll be happy, but they're not back if they're in the play-in tournament.
But if they're in the play-in tournament, then win, they're back.
They're back. There you go. Yeah.
Producer JJ says not getting past Philly.
Listen, that was a rough game yesterday. They should have won that game, but I won't bore the people with my Knicks diatribe, but they should have won that game. That was a terrible, terrible fourth quarter. Terrible.
JJ, you need to concern yourself with James Harden wanting to go back to Houston. So don't worry about
that's true.
Worry about your own team. All right, that is it for all of us. Thank you so much for watching. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. We'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern, with the NHL and college basketball back in action. So looking forward to that. Good luck tonight. Gamble or bless. We'll talk to you tomorrow.